Good evening, First Baptist Church. I'm over here paying attention to what they're saying. I'm not paying attention. It's good to see all of y'all here tonight. I hope you came ready to worship. If you would stand, we're going to sing our first song, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. Sing it out with us. We haven't done this. I don't know that I've ever done this one here. I've been here a long time. It's an old one, but it's one of my favorites. So I'm sure most of y'all will remember it. So sing it out with us.
Mercy and love had the feet.
All right. Good to see everybody here tonight. Thank you, ladies. And Phil. Open your Bibles with me tonight to Song of Solomon chapter 3. Song of Solomon chapter 3. Or as some translations will say it, based on the first part, Song of Songs, as it is called. Song of Solomon chapter 3. I did an introduction last week, and we looked at chapters 1 and 2. We're going to try to look at chapters 3, 4, and 5 tonight. I have been doing a survey of the Old Testament for years now. We did a survey of the New Testament, and once that was complete, I started the Old Testament back in Genesis 1:1. And we are now up to Song of Solomon chapter 3. And when I say survey the Old Testament, I want to read through the entire Bible, that's the goal, and study every passage in the Bible. There are some challenges when you do that. In the Old Testament, what's a good word for it? The language of Leviticus might be seen as tedious to some, or what was be for some the discouraging language of Solomon in Ecclesiastes, which we just looked at, might get to you after a little while. But if there's any one book a pastor could skip in the Old Testament, I think many pastors would say, I'll skip Song of Solomon. We'll just skip that. And I understand why, but there is a lot to be gleaned from Song of Solomon. Again, as I said last week, I don't personally think that this is an analogy or an allegory of Christ and the church. I think it's Solomon and one of his wives, and he's in love and she's in love, and he decides to write this book. It is very colorful. It is beautiful in many ways. It's a little embarrassing for preachers standing up here teaching it. Last week I was skillfully working through some verbiage in one of the passages when my staff was back there just laughing and laughing, watching me squirm. So tonight they will be doing some more laughing. If you remember the plot, and I shared with you that there is a plot to Song of Solomon, loosely, and it's about a man and a woman, and they're engaged, and tonight they're going to get married. And the groom is Solomon, and he disguised himself when he went to see this young lady, and so she did not apparently know that the guy she fell in love with is actually the king. And so tonight she discovers who her beloved is. And we'll see that in just a minute. Song of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1. All night long on my bed I looked for the one my heart loves. I looked for him but didn't find him. I will get up now and go about the city through its streets and squares. I will search for the one my heart loves. So I looked for him, but did not find him. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. Have you seen the one my heart loves? Scarcely I had passed them when I found the one my heart loves. I held him and would not let him go until I brought him to my mother's house, to the room of the one who conceived me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. So just a quick word about these 5 verses. The beloved falls asleep and has a dream about her lover. After all, she refused an invitation to spend time with him. Saw that last week, and perhaps her conscience was bothering her. In her dream, she left the security of her home, and at night searched for him in the city. The watchman couldn't help her, but she persisted and eventually found him, and once she found him, she wouldn't let him go. Her desire was for them to get. Her desire was for the two of them to get married. So she brought him to her mother's house and into the very room where she herself had been conceived. Isaac, interestingly, had brought his wife Rebekah into his mother's tent, and that's where they consummated their marriage back in Genesis chapter 24. So this is the first mention of the Shulamite's mother, but nothing is said about her father at all. He doesn't get to play a part in this story. At some point in his dream, or perhaps the next day, or in this dream, she gave her unusual admonition to the daughters of Jerusalem. That's the other ladies, or the bridesmaids, if you will. She gave them the directive to let the Lord direct in their lives and not to run ahead of his will, even in their dreams. All right, verse 6. Who is this coming up from the desert like a column of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and incense made from all the spices of the merchant? Look, it's Solomon's carriage, escorted by 60 warriors, the noblest of Israel. All of them wearing the sword, all experienced in battle, each with his sword at his side, prepared for the terrors of the night. King Solomon made for himself the carriage. He made it of wood from Lebanon. Its posts he made of silver, its base of gold, its seat was upholstered with purple, its interior lovingly inlaid by the daughters of Jerusalem. Come out, you daughters of Zion, and look at King Solomon wearing the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, the day his heart rejoiced. So, and that's beautiful, a very short chapter. The glorious procession appears on the horizon, is what she describes. It's Solomon being carried in his richly decorated chariot, or his, it's actually not a chariot, it's a carriage. Now, Solomon did everything extraordinarily, exquisitely. I can only imagine how his chariot looks, how his carriage looks. And interestingly, it gives us some detail about his carriage, and it is beautiful and magnificent. But he's also surrounded by 60 of his bravest soldiers, with a cloud of fragrant incense above him. He wears a wedding crown given to him by his mother. The daughters of Jerusalem get excited and sing to each other. Go forth, O daughters of Zion. The bride has her attendants. The king has joy in his heart. And the time has finally come for the wedding to take place. Any comments about chapter 3? All right. Chapter 4, verse 1. By the way, there's no way around it. This is PG-13. But it's beautiful. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. And by the way, it's real syrupy. You'll giggle a little bit in some of this. Maybe you remember back when you fell in love, but it's mushy. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Mount Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn coming from the washing. Each has its twin, not one of them is alone. Now, just for fun, I texted those verses to my wife this afternoon. She liked it. By the way, I guess if you have your prayer sheet, does everybody have their prayer sheet? So that's the caption in the prayer sheet. If you want to take that literally, that's what happens when you take things literally in some of these descriptions. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Now, to be fair, I've not seen a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from their washing. I get the impression they look nice, they look good, Each has its twin, not one of them is alone. Not the sheep, but the teeth. Verse 3, your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. Okay, your neck is like the Tower of David, built with elegance. On it hang 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your two breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle that browse among the lilies. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee, I will go to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of incense. Oh, beautiful you are, my darling. There is no flaw in you. Oh, young love. In modern weddings, by the way, the bride is the center of attention. And what did the bride wear is the big question. In fact, for pretty much every wedding, if you have a friend that got married or you're talking to somebody who recently got married, a lady, a female friend, and usually the first question is going to be, what dress did you wear? Describe your dress to me. That is our tradition. But here, the king is more concerned about her beauty than her attire. He has claimed her for himself, and it is now their wedding night. She will put aside her veil as a symbol that she belongs exclusively to him. His speech opens and closes with, you are beautiful. The images the king uses to describe her beauty may seem strange to us, but measures of beauty change from age to age and from culture to culture. So just a quick explanation about a few of the things. Dove's eyes would reflect peace and depth. The bride's teeth were clean, even, and beautiful. When you remember that ancient peoples didn't quite understand dental hygiene like we do, this is an admirable trait. Healthy teeth would also affect her breath. We'll see that in chapter 7, verse 8. She had a queenly neck and a posture with it that exuded control, power, and stability. She was a tower of strength. So again, if you were to go up to somebody and say that their neck looked like a tower, she might not take that well, but this is all complimentary stuff here. Verse 8. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Descend from the crest of Amana, from the top of Senir, the summit of Hermon, from the lion's dens and the mountain haunts of the leopards. You have stolen my heart, my sister, my bride. You have stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How delightful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much more pleasing is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume than any spice. If you remember, Solomon put some comments in Ecclesiastes about him cheering himself with wine. He drank wine. He knew what it was like to have too much wine, and he drank the best wine. Verse 11, your lips drop sweetness as the honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like that of Lebanon. Again, these immediately people in that day would get that, but it's pretty syrupy. The words stolen my heart that he mentions in verse 9, or his ability, it means that to be robbed of one's willpower or his ability to think clearly. The effect of his bride's love was so powerful that even a glance from her beautiful eyes, or even seeing an article of jewelry or clothing associated with her, was enchanting to Solomon. 5 times he called her his sister, because in the ancient Near East, sister was an affectionate term for one's wife. Don't ask me why. And we'll see that again in just a minute. I'll talk to you about other translations. Verse 12. You are a garden locked up, my sister, my bride. You are a spring enclosed, a sealed fountain. Your plants are your plants are an orchard of pomegranates with choice fruits, with henna and nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with every kind of incense tree, with myrrh and aloes and all the finest spices. You're a garden fountain, a well of flowing water streaming down from Lebanon. Awake, north wind, and come, south wind. Blow on my garden, that its fragrance may spread abroad. Let my lover come into his garden and taste its choice fruits. So he rejoices, by the way, here's the symbology here. He rejoices that his bride is a virgin. That's the term, a garden locked up, a spring enclosed, and a fountain sealed. Has to do with her honor and her virginity. This is another evidence that the Lord wants both men and women to stay morally pure before their marriage. It's a part of his celebration with her that she's pure. Physical love here is pictured in terms of satisfying thirst and exploring a beautiful and fruitful garden that never grows old. The bride is the garden, and the bridegroom prays that the winds of life will make her even more beautiful and desirable. With this lovely preparation completed, the bride is now ready, and she invites her husband to come into his garden and drink the living water and eat the fruits. And so that's her way of inviting him. All right, that's chapter 4. With any luck, we'll be finished in record time tonight. Any comments about chapter 4? All right, chapter 5. Verse 1. I have come into my garden, my sister. And so I did go ahead and look in other translations here. I found it interesting how many times he used the term my sister. I read them several times and skipped. I didn't even notice. But eventually you have to notice he's saying the word sister a lot, which in today's vernacular is creepy. But other translations will translate sister as treasure or my friend. So you can see it that way. It was just a term of affection, somebody close to him, I guess, kind of thing. All right, back to verse 1. I have come into my garden, my sister, my bride. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I've drunk my wine and my milk. So with exhilaration, Solomon declared that their marriage was complete. He had totally enjoyed his garden, that is, his bride. Possessing her was more delightful than gathering myrrh in a garden, as sweet as eating honey and as enjoyable as drinking the best wine and milk. So that's his comparison. You might say to your wife, men, you're more delightful than Bluebell ice cream. Something like that. I'm trying to translate that as gently as I can. All right. Eat, O friends, and drink your fill, O lovers. In verse 2, I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my lover is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. Sounded like they needed a dehumidifier. So he's knocking on the door. She's dreaming this. He's knocking on the door, but she doesn't answer it just yet. And he happens to mention he's covered in dew. So in a dream, and she says, I slept, but my heart was awake. The wife was approached by her husband, who said, open the door. The fact that the lover no longer addressed her as my bride, according to some theologians, indicates that there's a time lapse between verse 1 and verse 2. That is, verse 1 was the wedding night, verse 2 is sometime later. The couple should no longer be regarded at this point as newlyweds. But he did address her by other affectionate terms: my sister, my darling, my dove, and my flawless one. This is the first record of his using all these terms of endearment. His head and hair were covered with dew as he had been outside. Dew in Israel in the night is sometimes very heavy. All right, verse 3. I've taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I've washed my feet. Must I soil them again? Now this is the wife saying, I've already gone to bed, honey. I already washed my feet. Gonna get my feet dirty if I get up. So that's why theologians think this obviously is not the wedding night or the next night. This is a little bit later, when the gooey feelings have subsided a little bit. Verse 4, my lover thrust his hand through the latch opening. My heart began to pound for him. Well, this is interesting. So he tries to break in, and that made her happy? I don't know. So she said in her dream that she had already gotten ready for bed, but this trivial excuse for not opening the door revealed her indifference or apathy toward her husband. Somehow she had grown cool toward his advances, but he did not accept her excuse. He tried to open the door but failed, and so he left. Then her compassion was aroused for him, and she decided to open the door. The Hebrew expression translated, my heart began to pound for him, is used elsewhere to express pity or compassion. Verse 5. I arose to open for my lover, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with flowing myrrh on the handles of the lock. So he's gone, but he left myrrh on the doorknob. Verse 6, I opened for my lover, but my lover had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. Again, she's dreaming. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. They beat me. They bruised me. They took away my cloak, those watchmen of the walls. So when the beloved in her dream went to the door to open it for her husband, she found myrrh on the door handles and got some on her hands. Myrrh was sometimes associated with physical love. Perhaps, so he put on his perfume, his cologne. Perhaps the lover had put liquid myrrh on the door handles as a token of affection for his bride. However, the beloved responded too late, and then she went to look for him, and she was found and beaten by the watchman. Remember, in her first dream that we read a while ago, the watchman helped her look for her lover. In this dream, the watchman beat her and bruised her. They mistook her for a criminal, perhaps. In her dream, this symbolized the pain of separation brought about through her hesitation, and the dream dramatized her the need of her husband for her well-being, and her need of her husband for her well-being and her protection. He wasn't there to protect her. All right, verse 8. O daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my lover, what will you tell him? Tell him I am faint with love. Remember, we saw that terminology last week. She was faint with love. Tell him I am faint with love. So the beloved sought the daughters, helping in finding her lover. The message they were to give him, I am faint with love, meant that she now wanted his embrace. Though she had been indifferent, or he interpreted perhaps indifference to him, her attitude changed so that now she was anxious for him. Verse 9, how is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women? How is your beloved better than others that you charge us so? So the daughters, I guess her friends or the bridesmaid, asked the beloved what was so special about her lover that they should help look for him. This question gave her an opportunity to praise her husband which helped rekindle her former feelings of love. Verse 10, my lover is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000. Now, I'm going to encourage my wife to text me that. I like that. I'd be okay with 1,000 or 100, 50. I'm the best in a dozen. Verse 11, his head is purest gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves by the water stream, washed in milk, mounted like jewels. So I told you it's pretty syrupy. His cheeks are like beds of spice yielding perfume. His lips are like lilies dripping with myrrh. His arms are rods of gold set with chrysolite. His body is like polished ivory decorated with sapphires. His legs are pillars of marble set on bases of pure gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as its cedars. That's the famed forests of Lebanon. Verse 16, his mouth is sweetness itself. He is altogether lovely. He's my lover. This, my friend, O daughters of Jerusalem. So in appearance, his skin was ruddy, and in character, he was outstanding. The metaphors in verse 11 through 15 were not meant to be taken as visual comparisons for the most part, obviously. They indicate her husband's value and his attractiveness. For instance, his head was not the color of gold, obviously, but was as valuable as gold. His hair was wavy and black, which is like his description of her hair. His eyes were not shaped like doves, obviously, but were peaceful and gentle like doves, reflecting his peaceful and gentle character. But again, this is similar to his description of her eyes that we saw in chapter 1 and chapter 4. Gray or black doves washed in milk pictured the dark pupils of his eyes set off by the whites of his eyes. So you got white doves and black doves, that's the eyes. His cheeks were delightful and desirable like spice or perfume. His lips were soft and beautiful like lilies, to which had been applied flowing myrrh to give an additional fragrance. His arms were as attractive and valuable as gold. Some translations, instead of arms, say his hands. His body, literally his abdomen, was as handsome as ivory and sapphires in verse 14. Polished or smooth ivory may have also referred to the hard muscular shape of his abdomen. She's saying he's got a six-pack. His legs were strong, handsome, and valuable like marble and gold. His overall appearance was breathtaking. He was tall like the imposing cedars of Lebanon. So that's chapter 5. Now, two things I want you to notice, and we're going to close. Number one, again, I've already said this, but I wrote this down. My take on this as I study through this is, wow, this is really syrupy. They're really, I told you I wrote many letters to my wife because she lived in Hong Kong and I lived here. So she wrote me letters and I wrote her letters, and they were syrupy, but they can't hold a candle to this. So this is really mushy. It's beautiful, but mushy. And over the course of 3,000 years, terminology obviously has changed. Comparisons and analogies have changed. Because of that, here's my challenge to you married people. Men, go home and rewrite the previous chapters. I guess I started in 3 and 4, and rewrite some of those verses in today's vernacular for your wife. Now, don't bring it next week and quote it unless you want to, but rework a few of those verses for your wife obviously, instead of saying her neck is like the towers of Lebanon or a strong tower, pick verbiage that would compliment her today. Women, I encourage you to go home if you have a husband and rewrite some of chapter 5, put it in a current vernacular for your husband. I say this to say, I know that you love your wife, I know that you love your husband, as I love my wife and my wife loves me. But we don't write each other letters anymore. Because I see her every day, so what's the point? Well, that's a terrible... Now, husbands, I struggle. I shouldn't, but I do. We go out, this is what it boils down to. For Christmas, birthday, anniversary, we go down to Albertsons, and we get the flowers, and we get a card, and we just write, "Love you, honey," and then you sign your name. It's short. It's one sentence. Write something. Write something to your wife. Wives, write something to your husband. And make it just as syrupy. All right, that's my challenge. Update it for us and give us your modern paraphrase. All right, any comments or questions about chapters 3, 4, or 5? All right. They're quietly giggling back there. Phil, are you okay? Is there something that Phil needs to share with the congregation? I think Phil should share what he's going to write with the group next Wednesday night. You're just happy she has all her... Yeah, some of you can write, "Honey, your dentures are perfect." Okay, all right. With that, take your prayer sheet for the week. Who has the prayer sheet?